It's new car day. Actually, new car day was around Christmas, but we were waiting on this big old box of parts to show up for it. So now we can show it and play with it and hopefully get it running better. There it is, dirty as ever. 2007 Mercedes C230 Sport Sedan. I gotta tell you, it's not very sporty. Clean car, clean title. Just all around clean. It's in good shape. 134,000 miles. A few nicks and dings and scratches, some door dents, you know, everything you'd expect. But we got the windows tinted yesterday, so it actually doesn't look like Grandma's Mercedes. The interior is really clean. The only issues on the interior are a little bit of cracking on some of the trim, just from age, and really like to get rid of this wood trim. I've seen there's an aluminum trim for it. I'd like to get that eventually. Just got to find a car that somebody's parting out that has it. But it has a few issues, nothing serious. The oil cooler is leaking. We're at the gasket, so we got to do an oil cooler gasket. What I'm guessing is a Mercedes equivalent of the PCV system, basically the ventilation system for the block, has a centrifugal vent system on the back of one of the heads. That's got a little bit of a leak too. Just a little bit of oil residue. And then it needs the usual things that a 130,000 mile car needs. It needs mounts and bushings. FCP Euro had a pretty good deal on a whole rear end kit that's arms and bushings for it. So we got that. We got new bushings for the front, which we're going to have to find a way to get pressed in and out. And then I got the oil cooler gasket and the centrifugal vent thing. So I'm trying to do the engine stuff today. We also got the oil and filter to do an oil change on it, but I don't think we're going to do that today. We'll try and get the oil stuff done. It's got a little dribble leak when you park it. It drops out a couple quarter size drops every time it gets parked. So be nice to get the oil leaks fixed. One thing I'm not sure is if those drops are from the oil leak issues or actually from the motor mounts, because from what I was seeing when I was looking around online, the motor mounts are fluid filled, and when they go bad, they can leak something that looks suspiciously like oil. So kind of hoping it's just the motor mounts that are drizzling and the motor itself doesn't have any leaks. The motor looks dry underneath, and you'll see that when we open the hood. But yeah, let's get the hood open and see if we can replace that gasket and that centrifugal vent thingamajigger. One little trick I learned about these watching the internets is these shocks don't open very far, especially with this overhang on the hood. But apparently there's a little latch here that if you press it, you go full-blown Honda mode with the hood. Pretty much straight up and down. That makes life so much easier. So what we need to get to is right here, the oil cooler. Shouldn't be too bad. And then back here, the back of the head right here. You can barely see it straight down there. It's got this hose coming off of it. A little plastic cappy dealy on the back of the head. Apparently those are the two things that are leaking. Neither of them look too terrible to get to. The one on the back of the head's kind of far down there, but shouldn't be too bad. So this should pretty much just pull off. Yep, easy. Nice of them to make their engine cover easy to get to. Oh yeah, Got some gooiness around it. That's the oil cooler there. The gasket goes between here and here. One of the things I was seeing said that the power steering pump does have to come off of it. So, not the pump, but the reservoir to get to these bottom bolts. So, that could be a little interesting. To figure out how to get these weird... I read somewhere these are Kevlar, maybe? Intake tubes off. I imagine they just pull off of there. I don't see any fasteners or hose clamps. And yeah. So let me grab some gloves and some tools and we'll get started on it. Don't judge me. Oh, come on. Don't tell me this. Even this big sucker is not going to fit on there. Oh. Yeah, don't judge me. It worked. So we got it off. Turns out you don't have to take the power steering pump out. It's just really awkward to get to these 3 bolts. Pretty much had to do it all with just a regular Torx bit or Torx wrench, just the normal L-shaped everyday Torx wrench. But not that bad. The bolts came out real nice. Didn't make quite the mess. I ended up taking this radiator hose out. There's a radiator hose that goes from here to here. It made life so much easier. Did make quite a mess doing it. Didn't realize there'd be that much coolant in it, but it opened up that whole area, made it good. The one thing I did have to remove is you have to get the angle on these lower bolts. I had to take the cap off the power steering reservoir. No biggie, just a little nerve-wracking having that open, where you could potentially drop bolts or other things in it. I would recommend maybe if you had a glove or something, shove a glove over it so it's not just a big gaping open hole. You grab a pick, we'll pick that old gasket out of there. It looks pretty beat up. And then we'll clean up the housing, clean up the cooler itself, and try and get it back on there. It's definitely in there. Alright, so here's the old one. It's definitely seen better days. So the edges are all spooged out and chowdered. Backing of it's fine. Here's our nice new one. Looks the same. Should last a little while longer. I'm going to get some cleaner, scrape this surface clean, and we'll reinstall it. And we're back. Camera died, had to charge it. Also was getting really frustrated. So, can't really see it, it's getting dark, but got the vent centrifugal thingamajigger back in there. Got the cover back on, air boxes. Don't forget this hose. Checked everything's tight, as tight as I can get it. That was extremely painful and rough to do, but I did remember that I had a tool that made life a whole lot easier. So this tool right here is the one thing that will make this job not a nightmare. T30 and a finger wrench. That's it. One thing you will need for the oil cooler, if I can find it, is this extension. So this combination right here will get you to all of the oil cooler bolts, and then without the extension, with just this, will get you to all of the centrifugal vent cap thingamajigger bolts. That is the only way to get in there. I did it the really, really rough way with just a regular Allen key, or Torx bit, Torx key, whatever you want to call it, this guy. And other than these two bolts, and if you have the right combination of extensions, the bottom one towards the engine, it's a royal pain. This, if I had thought of this in the beginning, would have made life so much easier. So that's the secret. Get yourself a little finger wrench, find a T30 driver, and that will literally, when I spot checked these, I could get to every single bolt on that oil cooler pretty much drama free and put good leverage on it to tighten it. So make sure you got one of these. They can be an absolute lifesaver. I wish mine's still locked. Mine's gotten loose so it doesn't really click into the little notches anymore, but still, great tool to have and completely invaluable if you're doing this job. So I know I got to put a little bit more coolant in it, and then we'll start it up and pray that nothing leaks. There we go. The old coolant I saved from the C30 came in handy. So the Mercedes now has Volvo blood in it. Let's start it up and see if anything leaks. And it's a Mercedes again. See if we have any warnings on the dash. We're going 0 miles per hour. It's 8,700 miles till our next service. And no warnings. Very cool. So that'll wrap up the first project on the Mercedes.